it is redemption time. For those of you that haven't watched the channel before, you won't know, but for those of you that have, you'll remember that last time I worked on a television for a video, I fixed it and then broke it and ended up putting my fist through the screen. So it is going to be redemption day for this. Don't want to damage this now. Oh no, I've just dropped it. Yeah, you're not even getting a display on it at all. I bought a TV off my brother-in-law. I've actually bought a few. I bought 3 off him in the past few days. The first one is a 55-inch TV. So I paid him £30 for that, and that had a loose connection on it. Didn't do a video on that, but that was a 55-inch TV. Excuse the mess, I'm filling out a passport form. So yeah, 55-inch TV, loose connection, 4K, smart TV, all of that jazz. Managed to fix that, that works absolutely fine. Putting that in the bedroom. The TV in the middle, that's a 32-inch TV, and I bought that off him for £25, fully working, to use as a monitor in the workshop. And then the other one's just my own 24-inch monitor, which I've had for a while. That's going in the workshop as well. And also I've got this one and another one which I haven't picked up off him yet, which I paid £15 on each of them. So I bought this off him, he picked it up on scrap, and there's actually a note on it that says, scrap, just take it, just the HDMI socket broken on the back of the TV. Today's video is sponsored by PCBWay. Whether you've got a simple project that requires a quick mod board or you want to launch your own products to the world, PCBWay can help. With fantastic pricing on multi-layer PCBs, flex PCBs, 3D printing and even laser cutting solutions, you're sure to get everything you need all in one place. Custom PCBs start from just $5 for a 1 to 2 layer board with a fast 24-hour build time and free shipping on orders over $30. PCBWay are also proud to announce their new aluminium PCBs, which start at just $120 per square metre. Check out what PCBWay have to offer by clicking on the link in the video description or the top pinned comment and get your project started today. Thanks again to PCBWay for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to the repair. So basically the TV works. I'll just show you that note. Anyone who's well, anyone who knows me knows that's not my handwriting. My handwriting is absolutely horrible. I know that's not very good, but it's better than mine. Let's put it that way. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, he picked that up. He's a scrap man, basically. He collects scrap, and no, he doesn't steal it before anyone says. I've had people say that before. He's fully licensed, he's fully insured, he's, you know, fully legit and whatever, but he picks up scrap, basically. He collects scrap, he strips it down, and he weighs it in. And normally what he'll do is he'll take these to a group of Kenyan exporters. But I've said to him, when the screens are good, I will give you more than what the Kenyans give for it, because if the screens are good, then the chances are I'm going to be able to fix it. And if I can't fix it, I've got boxes full of TV boards. So I ended up giving him £15 for this. I think the Kenyan exporters give him like £10 for them, I think, when they've got a good screen on them. You know, a 32-inch, and I think they'll give like £20 or £25 on the 55s. So I'll give him a little bit more, and it means he hasn't got to store them or take them to the Kenyans and whatever. So yeah, I've been buying them off him. I've got those 2 that I've already got working. Well, one that I got working, one that was already working. I've got this one, and I've got another one which has apparently got no power, but I haven't picked that one up yet. This one does turn on. I have tested it. So this one's just basically a dumb TV, but the reason I've bought this, well, number 1 is to make a video, and number 2 is because I need some new monitors and screens for my new workshop. So for any regular viewers, you'll know that I'm basically making building a new workshop. It's a 20-foot by 10-foot shed, and I want a wall of monitors. There is a reason for that. I want a wall of monitors because I've got a OG Xbox which is modded, which I want to be able to connect up to it. And I've also got, well, a live stream as well. So obviously I want TVs and stuff that I can use for streaming. And then I've got a 4K TV in the workshop already that I can use for testing games consoles and stuff like that. And yeah, there's just various different things which I need TVs and monitors for. So I've already got 2 monitors in the workshop. So I've got a 28 inch, a 32 inch. I've got a 24 inch, no, a 28 inch down here. I've got the 32 inch TV. The 55 is going in my bedroom because we haven't got one in the bedroom. And then this one will go in there as well. So, yeah. But anyway, as you see, it does work. But it is broken. So, we've got this. Yeah, if I can get the sellotape off it. There we go. So, yeah, that was the note that was on it, but it does work, other than the fact that there's a couple of broken ports on the back of it. So, I don't need a remote or anything for this. Assuming I can get it onto HDMI, I should be able to, but assuming I should be able to get it onto HDMI, then that's all I need, because I'll only use the HDMI connection on it. So, yeah, I won't need a remote or anything like that. It'll just get hung on the wall. So, we're going to try and fix it. But like I said, if you have watched any of my other videos, if you've watched that other TV video, you'll know that I broke the screen while I was trying to reinstall it. And that was absolutely devastating. So, hopefully I don't break this one. But I didn't break the one that's over there now, the 55 inch. So, you know, some of them I break, some of them I don't. I'm not a TV technician, so these things happen. But anyway, let's get this apart and... yeah, we'll see what we can do with it. Sorry about the audio. I'm on my phone audio at the minute. It will improve when I get into the workshop, but then it'll go back to this audio when I put it all back together. I just can't fit this on my workbench at the minute. So I've got no choice but to use my phone audio. I'm just going to drop that over there, hanging the stand over the edge of the sofa. So unfortunately, like I said, this is the only way I can do this because I don't have the room. But yeah, just hang it over there, ignore the cups. I've been playing poker and drinking coffee. Did just win a tournament though, so not bad. But yeah, there we go. So there's a couple of broken HDMI ports. Let me see if I can get a close-up of that. It's a bit awkward while it's on the tripod. But yeah, as you can see, both of the ports there, sorry about the lighting, both of the HDMI ports are broken. There is at least one of the ports stuck inside. I saw it. It's just out of view of the camera, but you'll see it when I take the back off it. But it is stuck inside. I don't know if the other one's stuck inside, and I know that there is at least one torn trace on one of the ports. So, yeah. Let's see what we can do, shall we? And I'm a little bit out of breath because I'm not used to talking and, you know, doing videos standing up. So, yeah, really not used to it, but never mind. Okay, so, get the trusty screwdrivers. Brand new that I left outside, ox screwdrivers. Told you I'd get some. Yeah, let's unplug it first. There we go, that might help. Alright, so I'm going to get this unscrewed and get it taken apart. I'll just throw the screws in my pocket for now. So the reason that I've left this for a few days, because I've had it for about a week, it's just been sat on my kitchen table. But the reason I've left it for a few days is because I think it was raining when he picked this up, and I wanted to leave it for a few days. I don't think it was too bad in terms of the rain, but it was raining nonetheless. Okay, so I think all of the screws are out. I think. Let's get rid of the stand. Oh, sorry, no, there's one more. There was one screw missing there, interestingly. I've probably got a spare screw somewhere that I can use for it. But yeah, it's not really that important. It's only one screw. Alright, so let's just see if I can lift this off. Okay. There we go. Okay, so yeah, there's a HDMI port there which have been damaged, and there's one more which I don't know where it's gone. So these TVs are relatively straightforward. You've got the power supply, which is just there. Be very careful with that, because the capacitors can hold a charge for a long time. Not always, but most of the time they hold a charge for a considerable amount of time after the power supply has been unplugged from the mains power. And you do not want to touch those. You will be in for a bad day. But from there, you get the power which comes through here, and that goes into the main board. And that main board is responsible for, obviously, all of the TV signals, decoding, all of that sort of stuff. And then from there, under here, there's a little PCB, it's a little sub board. And that is the T-Con board. So basically, that's responsible for converting the signals to work with the screen. And that's pretty much it. There really isn't a lot to TVs, which is why a lot of them are so cheap. But yeah, we've got to focus on this. So this is where the HDMI ports were. Obviously, I don't have any replacement HDMI ports. So what I'm going to have to do is take a donor board and pop some new HDMI ports on from a donor board. I've got a bunch of boards. I've got a box full of boards in the workshop from TVs I've stripped down over the past, couple of years. When my brother-in-law picks up scrap TVs that have got a broken screen, a lot of the time I'll nick the boards out of them for this reason, because you get stuff like this where you can, obviously do with the parts and stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to take this board out and I'll get it onto the workbench in the main office. So I'll just unplug these connections. Come on, there we go. Be very careful with this LVDS connector. Don't want to be breaking that. That would not be fun to replace. Sorry about the audio again, by the way. It will improve in a minute. We do have a function button on this as well, so I can get it onto HDMI. Okay, there we go. So that is all taken out. I don't need this port, but yeah, just in case, I will have a look at it and see if it's salvageable, just to see, can we reuse it or whatever. But yeah, relatively straightforward. They always are on these. So I'll head into the workbench. I'll head into the office and get this on the workbench. Alright, on the workbench then, unfortunately the audio did become corrupted and it can't be used, so I'll just have to walk you through what I'm doing with a voiceover. The board I've got in front of me is the board for the TV we're working on, and I also managed to find a similar board in my donor pile, which is obviously from a different television, but the manufacturer of the PCB is exactly the same as the one that we need to repair. They're both made by a company called Vestal. The reason I went for this board in particular is because they both have the exact same HDMI ports. That means that I can just take the ports from a donor board and install those rather than having to wait for new ports to show up. I did of course have to make sure that the anchor points were in the same position and that the pitch between the pins was also the same on the donor ports as well. But as you'll see, we've got the pads where the port used to be, but unfortunately one of those pads did tear off when the port snapped. So what we need to do is run what's called a jumper wire from the trace where the pad connects to where the trace would sit on the replacement port. That way, when we solder a new port in place, we can just solder to the jumper wire rather than having a pad missing. The first step is to clean up and scrape back the trace which we need to restore. This means using something small and sharp to scrape back the coating to expose the copper underneath. That way, we have something that we can tin. The substance I'm using is called flux, which helps the solder to flow and it also prevents oxidation. It also keeps the solder joints clean and prevents cold solder joints.
Once the trace is tinned, we can go ahead and solder a thin wire to the trace that we just tinned and bring it up to the pad where the pin is going to sit. The green substance is called solder mask, and that essentially reinsulates the exposed trace and keeps the wire secure so that we can solder to it. All that we're doing is extending the broken trace, recovering it, and then soldering the pin onto that extension, rather than having the original trace that would have been there usually. Soldering the HDMI port itself is relatively simple, apart from the part where we actually need to solder the damaged trace. That part does need to be done slowly and carefully to make sure that we don't break the replacement wire. In terms of wire sizing, it really doesn't matter too much. The wire that I use here is 0.02mm, which is more than sufficient for the amount of current that it needs to carry. If this trace was one of the 5V lines, I'd recommend using thicker gauge, but because this is just a data line and a few milliamps of current, 0.02mm is absolutely fine. It's more than sufficient. Once the wire is soldered and the rest of the pins are also soldered, it's just a case of making sure that we don't have any bridge pins, and if we do, we just remove that excess solder either by running the soldering iron across the pins a few times and collecting up the solder onto the iron, or we can use something called solder braid or solder wick, which is just copper braid which helps to suck up the excess solder. Once all that's done, we can just clean up any excess flux using isopropyl alcohol and move on to soldering the second port. The reason I went for this port first was because the other port would have got in the way of running the jumper wire if I'd have soldered that one first. As you'll see, once the second port is in place, it does make it very difficult to get in between the two ports with the soldering iron, meaning it would have been almost impossible to get decent solder joints. The second port is pretty much the same as the first port, but without the jumper wire, since we didn't have a damaged trace on this one. Just make sure that we don't have any bridges, make sure that all the pins are soldered correctly, and make sure that they're all secure. And with that, we're done. We can go back to the TV and reinstall the board.
Alright, back to Crappy Cam, and boy am I glad to get out of that workshop. Number one, it's bloody cold in there, even though we are in the middle of summer. British weather, love it. Number two, I've been sitting on a bunch of screws, and yeah, they're not fun. But never mind, I guess I've been screwing myself, eh? Ha! Got him. Anyway, let's get this back together, shall we, before we get demonetised from YouTube for saying the wrong thing. Right, so I'm going to plug this in here. Pop. Plug this one in here. Pop. Plug this one in here. Pop. And drop this back on as well. There we go. Good. Right, so the screws for this board are kept separate. Ah, there's the other port, look. Ha! Well, I'll be damned. Didn't see that. There's that second port. They can't be reused anyway, they're knackered, so yeah, never mind. Okay, so there's the board back in. So now I just need to connect up the power cable and the speakers. So I'm just trying to get a half decent camera shot. So power cable needs to be plugged in. Oh, I've got the burps now. So pop that power cable in there. There we go. And the speakers. Funnily enough, that 55-inch TV, I've got to take it back apart because I forgot to plug the speakers back into the darn thing. But hey ho, never mind. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I won't worry about putting the screws in, I can do those off camera, that's fine. Same as the stand as well. As long as it's clipped together, it's absolutely fine. First and foremost, plug the bad boy in. Secondly, why is it not turning on? I think the power cable might have just come unplugged on there. Ah, there we go. That's more like it. Alright. Yeah, the power cable come unplugged off the power supply. Good job the wires are not exposed on these things, isn't it? Anyway, let's give it a test. So I've got my OG Xbox here. And I'm going to connect this up to my HDMI converter, which I know works, because I use it quite regularly. So I'll use the USB power from the TV. I might need to screw this down, because I don't think the ports are going to go in fully. I'm going to need to put at least the screws in this back panel here. Now she's plugging in properly. Okay, so let's just connect up. Ah, dang it. Like our USB broken. Oh, mini USB actually. USB type B, I think actually. I don't bloody know. Anyway. Let's just connect it up. I know this is all a bit jank. Turn my Xbox on. No, don't turn off on me. Oh, damn it, I missed it. Okay, just turn that on. So I'm turning it on with the button at the back. I'm going to switch the source to HDMI if I can. So it's HDMI 1 at the minute. Ah, damn it. Oh, it's one of those TVs, isn't it? I'm going to turn it off now to be able to turn it back on. Or have I? Oh no, there we go. Right. So HDMI 1. Yes, there we go. So HDMI 1 was the one with the damaged trace. And there we go. That is picking up the HDMI. So as you can see, it's working on my Xbox. Blah de blah de blah da. And yeah, cool. Let's try HDMI 2. So HDMI 2. There we go. Boom. Both of those are working fine. Cool. Let's check the volume, make sure that works. So I'll load up Halo 2 or something. Was that Halo 2 I loaded up? I think so. Yeah, the volume's working. There we go. That is all working. Looks pretty decent as well on this TV. What's the resolution there? 1080p. There we go. So yeah, this isn't 4K, but you know, it works. I'll take it. I will take that any day. So yeah. Picking up my Xbox, my LG Xbox, 40 inch. I thought it was 32 inch. It's not. Couple of ports off a donor board. Job's a good one. Yeah, that is redemption. We've got a working TV. This is going to go in the workshop. Like I said, I've got a 50-inch TV. I might put the 50-inch in the kid bedroom, actually, to be honest, because I've got a 43-inch in the workshop right now, in the current workshop, and I've also got a 50-inch which is in my back room. So I might put the 50-inch in my back room, I might put the 55-inch in my bedroom, and then I've got this 40-inch, the 43-inch, a 32-inch. I've got another 32-inch to come, which even if I can't fix it because it's no power, I can just replace the boards because they're cheap enough. Yeah, I think I'll have enough TVs for the workshop. I do want one just for my CCTV so I can keep an eye on the house from in the office, but yeah, there we go, all working. Happy days. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more repairs. Like I said, I am going to be doing a 32-inch TV soon. It's going to be a no power issue, so hopefully I can figure that out. But yeah, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.